Hey guys, guess what? It's Talisman time. Talisman, the magical quest game, is a game made by Games Workshop in 1985 for 2 to 6 players, ages 9 to adult. Welcome home, brave heroes, and searchers for the crown of command alike. I'm Ash, this is Ash Quest, and today we're checking out the second edition of Talisman. This was not quite an edition that I was interested in collecting until two things happened. One, I found myself with the entirety of the 3rd and 4th and 5th editions of the game. And two, I found myself with many other mid to late 80s versions of Games Workshop games that all had this exact same box format. Now, this feels like it is a must-have for my collection, and possibly a version of the game that I actually play when facing the choice of which talisman to play. The box art for this time period was stunning. It is just my favorite selection of artwork for all of Games Workshop's board games. This game was obtained secondhand on eBay and includes the Adventure and Expansion expansions. It is said to be complete, and by my count that appears to be true. Our components have been dubiously separated into bags, including the chits for the gold, stamina, life, and craft. 3rd edition introduced the little cones, and they never looked back. We have some holdovers from the cardstock from which the lives and craft chits were punched, and we have the 6 plastic stands that will be used to hold up the standees of all the characters. And yes, there are standees, but there are so many characters in Talisman. Talisman is basically the game that puts every other fantasy game to shame in terms of pre-built character choice. The rules for Talisman, the magical quest game, are quite simple. Once you have learned one of the Talisman games, you should be able to play any of them just by adjusting to the rules that make that specific edition unique. And yes, pretty much every edition has got its own little thing that makes it somewhat special, detached from the rest of them, for better or for worse, depending on which Talisman superfan you ask. Just like church denominations, every edition of Talisman is a particular heresy to the others. I would like to know at this juncture which Talismans you have played and which one is your favorite. Games Workshop has a few different eras of nostalgia. This is one of them, and it is very nostalgic. But I am particularly taken by the 3rd edition of this game, which features the beautiful Citadel sculpts. Just, in my opinion, unmatched representation of the characters. On the back, we have our turn flow chart, and once they added the turn flow chart, they also never looked back. It may have always been there, but regardless, they never looked back. The turn flow chart persists to the newest editions today. The game also comes with questions and answers sort of just fold out. This is everything there is to it, but this is very amusing. I have never seen anything in any other game from this time period or since. It presents itself as sort of a frequently asked questions document, and I'm pretty sure it came with either the Adventure or the Expansion kit because it references both of those, but it does so in this quiz manner. Questions about the Talisman expansion kit. The Amazon may choose to roll 2 dice to determine how many spaces she can move. If she rolls 2 dice, which does she do? Choose one of the numbers and move that number of spaces, total the 2 numbers and move that number of spaces, or choose to move either one of the 2 numbers or the total of the 2. The answer is A, and it doesn't really provide you with an explanation as to why the other choices would even be considered. It's just a test you can give your fellow Talisman players before you play. It's somehow brilliant and absurd at the same time. Is there a word for brilliance and absurdity rolled into one? It's absent. No, it's brilsurd. So brilsurd. What if your regular strength is higher than 12, which is not unusual in our games, or you already have more than 5 lives? Very, very specific wordings per question, and then an equally specific answer for all of that. That is fascinating to me. We have several more documents, including the Talisman character sheets. These help us sort out our strength, craft, lives, and gold tokens, as well as give us space to put our objects and our followers, and there are 6 of them to accommodate the maximum of 6 players. They are not to be marked on, as far as I can reckon. I believe this is just as a placeholder to place your cards and tokens and whatnot. So that's very handy, and it makes this reusable. It also makes me not afraid to bring it out and have people use it. This specific edition or instance of this game comes with the uncommon maybe even rare Talisman Magical Quest Game 2nd Edition poster. So I have this beautiful poster that I feel like needs to be framed and put on my wall. It is in immaculate condition. It doesn't have tack holes or anything. I don't think it was ever put up. There's just absolutely no evidence that it was ever even used or taken out of this box. What an incredible find. We have a pamphlet here, which serves as the Talisman, the Adventure sort of rule set, explaining that the adventure has over 60 new cards for Talisman, including brand new characters to play, ghastly new monsters to fight, and more spells to zap things with. And if that's not enough, there are also new event, object, stranger, follower, and place cards to add more variety to your game. There are also mules and alternative endings, such as the Demon Lord, the Dragon King, and the horrible Black Void, which is my personal favorite. The first player to cross the Bridge of Fire is sucked into a seething mass of darkness and annihilated, along with all their followers, objects, etc. They have lost this game. If you ask me, they've won. Am I right? Dark millennial humor. The Belt of Hercules and Pandora's Box rounds out the endings. We also have an explanation of henchmen. They are optional. They should only be included if all players agree to their use. Another fine example you can show your Games Workshop lawyer friends, that sometimes they really wanted the fun to outweigh the rules lawyering. There is an optional Chaos Bloodbath option and an amendment. Any player who visits the tavern and loses at gambling but does not have any gold must lose a life instead, and changes to rules section 13.2. I loved the passage version of the rules in any place they pop up. I think that's the best way to organize your rules and to provide specific references to people who have questions. This is the listing of official Talisman miniatures. Doubtless these are all metal, but they are designed by the legendary Ali Morrison. They're only £1.50 per code, so I'll be sure to stock up on these after I get a time travel machine and the appropriate currency conversion. But we see the warrior, assassin, monk, thief, dwarf, prophetess, troll and ghoul, necromancer, amazon, rogue, barbarian, philosopher and pilgrim, wizard, minstrel, druid, priest, elf, sorceress, hobgoblin, satyr, toad, knight, merchant, halfling, ranger, gladiator, and leprechaun. We have additional pricing down here for bundles. The complete set of miniatures for Talisman, the Magic Quest game, for only £6.75. Or you can get the complete set of miniatures for the Talisman expansion set, or both complete miniature sets for only £12.20. That is just an incredible deal. Even today, it would be remarkable to get each of these for £12.20 by themselves, and I don't mean the set, I mean the individual miniatures. Shar asked me recently, why did I say miniature? Why miniature? Why not miniature? I don't know. I don't know. We didn't look at the back of this box, but this gives you a screenshot as well as the legendary Talisman logo of the game and how it might be played. Talisman is a game played in a mythical world of dragons and sorcery. As a warrior, priest, wizard, or one of the 11 other characters with special powers, each player must set off on a quest to find the magical talisman. The journey will be filled with danger. Monsters, traps, and evil beings are waiting to defeat your player character. With skill and luck, you will survive to find the greatest treasure of them all, friendship. Only then will victory be yours. This does have a complexity rating of low. Now that made it seem like it was a box standard, but when I look at the back of my Dungeon Quest box, we don't have a complexity here. We have a number of players, age, playing time, and game designers as well as box art, but no complexity rating. We also don't have a complexity rating on the back of the Warlock of Firetop Mountain. We do have length, box art, age, players, and game design. The board is made up of these jigsaw cut sections. There are 4 of these altogether to represent the Talisman board that we are all familiar with, that we all know and love, and this was a pretty standard practice for Games Workshop in this time period. It seemed just as common to find the boards that folded up twice, but the puzzle piece boards were in several other games. 87's Dungeon Quest, for example, had 6 of these puzzle pieces that went together to form the board. Warlock of Firetop Mountain had 6. And Fury of Dracula had 4. Kind of ironic that they used only 4 pieces to make up the entirety of Europe. Well, Eastern Europe. I guess if they'd brought in Western Europe, they would have used all 6. Perhaps they decided that that would be best left for potential expansion territory. It would have been smart if that was why. Nevertheless, let's get this board put together. This is the smallest version of this board that I have seen so far. I mean, if they'd stuck to this size, then the whole game with all of its corner board expansions and everything would have fit on a much smaller table. As it stands, the 4th edition needs to be played in the same place that you play Battle Masters. Now that I've put it together, I'm going to take it apart because I want to show you the individual sections and how awesome the artwork looks on this 1985 version. board. Everything is crystal clear. I mean, you can make out what everything is. There's no special bells and whistles. It's not a particularly high gloss board, so you can read it unless the light is shining directly on it. All of these spaces seem as though they remain completely unchanged throughout the decades that this game has existed in its various forms. Even the Talisman games that are reskinned with various IPs like Batman and Warhammer 40k, these spaces are always more or less the same, or they're the relevant proxy, basically the analog to whatever space, having almost the exact same effects or relative effects depending on the rest of the dynamics of that particular version of the game. This is the Sentinel, and might I just say, Mr. Sentinel, you are looking fantastic, like a warrior of chaos. It's probably the scariest Sentinel I've seen. Just awesome, just absolutely awesome. Only problem with the puzzle boards is sometimes they'll stick up in places. That's kind of the analog of the board that folds out but is bowed. I honestly don't have a problem with it though. I don't know, I have kind of a soft spot in my heart now for the puzzle boards after owning so many games that utilize them. This is the big old bag of base game cards. I know, because I bagged them myself after taking everything out of the bags and looking everything over. I re-bagged them myself. I think at the end of the day, Talisman pushes the idea that no matter who you are, no matter what your walk of life is, you too can possess the crown of command as long as your friends don't backstab you and take it for themselves. We have our adventure cards, and just because they're a little older, it doesn't make them any less virile. We have our wraith, our wolf, our water bottle, our wand. Oh, they're in alphabetical order too. Wow. Somebody really went through and they literally seriously put these in alphabetical order. I am shocked. What is wrong with your neck? You are really straining to yell at me, lady. Shrine, shield, rune sword, ring, raiders. All of our wonderful illustrations are here with their mechanical descriptions. It's all very immersive. We don't have the sterilization of game rules that so many people do in the contemporary. It's great to see, because an immersive game to me is a fun game, not one where I have to think about the mechanics and numbers of my next move. I love correlating what my character would do with what I have them do. It's as close as I get to actually role-playing, and I don't play TTRPGs, and that is kind of more of a choice as well as being circumstantial. But applying the RPG mindset to a board game, I'm all about it. I will do that every single time. Just ask everybody who I've ever played HeroQuest with, ever. Cursed by Hag. Cave. An awesome looking cave. It doesn't miss. There's not a single illustration here that isn't awesome. Even the humble bag of gold. It gets the point across. Looks like a fun thing to collect. There sure is a lot of bags of gold. Well, that's great. Then we have our axe, armor, ape, angel, amulet, alchemist, and numbers of bags of gold, which of course numbers precede letters in most things. I've said that Talisman is unbeatable in terms of pre-baked character selection, and that is evidenced by the warrior, the troll, the thief, the sorceress. Man, some of these designs have endured for 40 plus years. Some of these designs have not endured. They have changed quite a bit. But still others, yeah, they're actually very close to their representations of these characters today. It's actually kind of crazy. There's the ghoul, the elf, the dwarf, yes, the druid, and the assassin. And you will find their character cards here. And there's no reason to flower this up or make it any fancier than it is. This is very practical. It does the job in a small space. Larger adventure cards from newer editions, well, they take up half the table. But these, you can fit these in your wallet. Pull them out during dates to impress the waiter. The elf, the dwarf, the ghoul, the artwork is the exact same, but you have all of your abilities and your places for your objects and follower cards and the like. This is assuming you're not using the character sheets. These guys are double-sided because they are going into the stands, and they're not quite pincered into the stand. They are basically just resting in the stand, which is great because it means that the piece is going to last forever. forever. It'll be a testament to humanity after the sun boils our oceans away. Fifth dimension life will come across our plane of existence and say, what is this? A warrior card. Epic. Dude, no way. You think I can sell it on Solar Bay? Yeah, capitalism exists, in the free trade market exists in the fifth dimension as well. I know this. We have our purchase cards, we have our numerous spell cards, and of course, and I accidentally spoiled this early, we have our toad cards. Right on, dude. You are now a slimy little toad for 3 turns. We also have our talisman cards, which of course you need the talisman in order to be able to get to the Crown of Command. You can enter the Valley of Fire if you have it. The game is essentially a race to see who can first get a talisman and then make sure they are confident enough to get the Crown of Command by facing all of the challenges that lie beyond the Valley of Fire. You push your luck if you're trying to be first. We have 4 alignment cards as well. Just good and evil this far back. Nowadays we have neutral, and I believe neutral was in the 3rd edition too, but I could be misremembering. Our spell cards are pretty epic. We've got invisibility, immobility, temporal warp, teleport. Is he crying? No, I thought I saw a tear fall from his face. Like, I'm so sad, I'm going so fast. Random, psionic blast, love the expressions here. Preservation, nullify, mesmerism, hex, healing, oh god, the most horrifying vision of healing I've ever seen. Divination, destruction, counterspell, destroy magic, alchemy, and acquisition. Will 2nd edition HeroQuest Talisman? Purchase cards, here we go. We've got water bottle, we've got a lot of water bottles. We got a sword. We have swords, we have shields. We have not as many items that would be necessary to give to each player in a game of Talisman. We have a limited amount of each item. In fact, we only have 1 raft. We have a few mules, 4 mules. We have 4 helmets, 4 axes. But eventually, if everybody's gaining items, purchasing things at the same rate, somebody's going to be left without, and they'll have to go a different route. That wasn't even supposed to rhyme. That was good. That's pretty much the base game components in their entirety. They kept it simple, they kept it effective, they kept it smart. It means low production costs. Then they can pass on that incredible value to you, the player who is looking to buy beautiful metal Citadel miniatures, if they are Citadel. I don't remember the Citadel being included in that ad. But that is not all. We actually have 2 more packs to open. Sadly, I don't have the boxes for those packs. Everything was kind of super boxed, which was pretty common for the era. When I got a copy of Dungeon Quest, it had other stuff in it. The expansions to Dungeon Quest were in it. I really wanted the boxes for Catacombs and for Heroes for Dungeon Quest, so I did end up getting those. I could see myself trying to collect the boxes for Talisman 3rd Edition's expansions, because when I bought 3rd Edition, the expansions were included in it again, the original boxes having been thrown away. I don't know if I like doing that. I like doing it sometimes because it just makes sense if it all fits. But then again, I'm far less likely to feel that connection to something newer, to something contemporary. That's enough gabbing. We have Secret Door, Idol, Arena. We're going to lock the focus on this exact spot, so I don't have to play with that. We have Genie. The Genie has 1 spell. Take 1 from the spell pack and place it with the Genie. You may look at it. The Genie will cast the spell when you pay him 1 gold, and then will spirit off to the discard pile with his gold. That is a very unique Genie. I think it's a free Genie. He doesn't need to grant wishes. He's probably not bound by it, but he's here granting them so he can make bank and get his nest egg up so he can finally ask the Sphinx to marry him. And, who could blame him? Just look at her. The Pegasus, the Outlaw, the Magician, the Judge of all things. You're guilty. If you're playing against me, guilty. The Demigod, the Cyclops, the Centaur. This is who the Sphinx told the Genie not to worry about. The Shade, also known as a Dullahan. The Lich. Love that. Metal Lich. Beautiful Banshee. She's so pretty. And then we have one of our characters already, the Barbarian, the Golem, and then we're into some monsters: Goblin, Gargoyle, Doppelganger, Berserker, Giant Lizard, Volcano, Taxation, which is theft, Patrol, Halloween, and Earthquake, as well as Astral Conjunction. This is what happens in the Roly-Poly-Oly cartoon at some point. He goes pinballing off into all the planets. That was a character card mixed in. The other character cards are as follows: Amazon, Gladiator, Halfling, Hobgoblin, Knight, Leprechaun, Merchant, Necromancer, Philosopher, Pilgrim, Ranger, Rogue, Satyr. Now, all of these characters, all of these monsters, to my knowledge, pretty much every single one of them has been reintroduced in Talisman 4th edition, with the vast majority of them appearing across multiple expansions in the base game of Talisman 3rd edition. But they are recurring characters. Will you focus? What are you doing? Focus, focus. There we go. You have your character boards for each of them as well. But yeah, they all look very familiar because they really haven't changed a whole lot over the decades. It is obvious, probably, but still worth noting that these various components have also made their way into later expansions, so much that we pretty much expect them at this point. And so it's no surprise that with Avalon the goddess and her hills. It's the Talisman doing this to me, guys. The Talisman is evil in my home. It's a necessary evil, but it contrasts the HeroQuest. Avalon Hill's 5th edition has got unique content. Like, they're going a completely different direction with how they are expanding the game, and people are continuing to be like, where are the cornerboard expansions? Where is my centaur? Well, I won't spoil where the centaur is. Where is my ninja? My orc? Where's my samurai? My soldier, my warrior of chaos? Please give me a warrior of chaos. The witch doctor, who I think has been removed. This was from 1985. Nowadays, this would probably be very culturally insensitive, replaced by something with equal ability, but a different name, different appearance. Woodsman. Here are our alternate endings. We've got the Belt of Hercules, Pandora's Box, the Dragon King, the horrible Black Void. And we're not supposed to see them. They're endings. They're random. They would be placed randomly on the last space. So you get your Crown of Command, you get your ending. The adventure and spell cards are expanded with this expansion as well. We get Ancient Artifact, Archer, Bag of Carrying, more Bags of Gold, Band of Zombies, and so on. Only bad thing is we don't really have a way to... we have literally the Chinese dragon. It's a Chinese dragon, specifically. Nothing offensive about that, though. That's just cool. It is a very specific type of dragon. Very serpentine, very long, very powerful. It's fine, I think, to specify that one. Familiar, Fool's Gold, Ghast, and so on and so forth. There's no way, though, to tell which expansion these cards are from. So if you mix all this stuff together, you're going to have some kind of way to separate it if you want to, and there's no easy way to do that. You'll have to look at the listing of cards and painstakingly take everything apart, and that just feels like such a travesty, such a horrible thing. But you know what? In this household, we'd probably play a few games of Talisman vanilla, and then I probably would introduce one of the expansions, and I'd probably never take it out again. So it just has 2 expansions, so it's not like it's a big deal. This is one of my favorite illustrations out of this whole thing. Finger of Death. He just taps this guy on the forehead, and he's dead. He is deader than dead. He is a skeleton. His flesh has exploded off of him. It has just completely emblazed. One of the most hilarious illustrations I've ever seen. That, in a nutshell, is the amazing, the legendary, the seminal Talisman. This is the 2nd edition of the game, and I have a feeling this is going to hit the table at some point soon. And I have played a couple versions of Talisman, but the older Talismans, despite the new editions, they still, in my heart, hold relevance. They still have their place separate from the other boxes, especially if you're collecting 4th edition and you've got all the corner expansions and the alternate board and the alternate center part and all of the little sections that combine the corner expansions, and your table is already 8 by 16 feet large to accommodate it all. Yes. Thousands of cards later and 8,000 turns later, and you'll have one champion over all of them. This is a simpler time. Could we have made this more complicated? Oh yes. Did we? Blessedly not. And that is the 2nd edition's legacy. Thank you very much for watching. I've been Ash. This has been Ash Quest. I don't remember if I welcomed you home. Did I? We're still welcome. Go take a load off. Have a seat on the couch over there. I'm brewing some coffee here in a few minutes. You're welcome to have some. If you're heading out, I hope you have a fantastic rest of your day. And so, until the next adventure, I bid you onward for now.